In a recent video of mine, I make reference to a former video, "Oh my man, I love him so," to reference Socrates' speech in Plato's Symposium. As in this speech, he makes reference to Diotima, a female philosopher's ladder of love. The part we'll focus on will be the very first step of that ladder, which is the realization that one must eventually come to welcome and embrace love. This being that love of the physical body was merely the very first stage, and that the indicator of those who truly love or are capable of truly loving is that they will transcend away from merely the appeal of the mortal flesh. This idea alludes to the divinity of love, emphasizing the celestial, supreme aspect of love as it reigns as the most powerful emotion. Furthermore, of course, beauty will fade with time, yet the sole key point that concludes love's supremacy is that it does not fade. It is the only permanent thing in this finite life. But of course, we are dealing with people here, meaning that they prefer to restrict themselves to merely the use of their five senses. Just their five senses. To them, the sight of beauty is far more reliable than the contents of a person's character. They look no further into the eyes than a person's eye color, because they care very little to know about the soul, despite the eyes being called the windows of the soul. I don't mean to single you out and reprimand you, as after all, the infatuation with beauty is hardly a new concept. Mike Tyson was indeed right to say that the past is just us in funny clothes. You'll understand that reference when you watch my other video on Mike Tyson. 5 of the 7 deadly sins can be tied into beauty. Pride, or perhaps vanity, as pride is what you think of yourself and vanity what you'd have others think of you, but either will cause detriment if they result from beauty. Lust can occur in response to beauty, and greed, envy, and wrath are evoked by beauty. Suffice to say that this manic obsession with beauty is far from new. Yet people no longer really know what physical beauty is, despite relentlessly chasing after it. But I don't want you to be part of the blind following the blind. This saying is so interesting because it's the only time where there's no distinction between leader or follower, because you're both blind, so neither of you knows where you're going. So to open your eyes once more, I'll tell you, beauty is health. Health is beauty. You cannot achieve one without the other, and one comes as a result of the other. I have this theory that to be closer to the image that God created you in, meaning to be ideal in the physical aspect, or as you'd call it, beautiful, you must simply optimize what God has given you, thinking, how can I be as healthy and fit as I ought to be? We're all familiar with the saying, no pain, no gain, yet that doesn't really seem to hold true anymore in our society, as you can simply get plastic surgery to reach your ideal goal. Now, I'd like to preface, you should always be a selective listener, so do as you please. But isn't the aim of life to gain? Gain as much as you can in every aspect, whether it be money, life experience, and most of all, wisdom. Thus, by working your body out, training it so it becomes stronger and more resilient, the suffering will not only be a physical pain as your body morphs into a superior physique, but also your mind will be sharpened through the discipline. And as a result, your soul is replenished because you are, in every way, all the more better. Jim Rohn says, set a goal to become a millionaire. Not for the money, but for what it will make of you to achieve it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Extrapolate your understanding from one area to another area to broaden your understanding even further. That is the fastest route to wisdom. Set a goal to attain beauty, understanding that there can be no beauty without health. Imagine yourself with a body as close to what God envisioned when making man in his likeness, and then welcome the pain that comes in order to gain beauty. To incentivize you to embody this understanding, I'll have to tell you how bad things truly are. Let's begin with a story time of yours truly as a 7-year-old student. On this very day at primary school, the teachers were giving a presentation on smoking. Ironically enough, they chose teacher X to give this presentation, who, amongst us kids, was believed to have eaten 10 packs of cigarettes for breakfast, as a result of her voice and her appearance. She always wore a black leather jacket, dark black eyeliner, and dyed dark grey hair. I kid you not, amongst the kids, we believed that this woman was a walking cigarette. But this was all speculation on our part, we'd never actually seen her smoking. She begins her speech by confirming our suspicions, saying she had been a smoker most of her life. Like a minimum of 25 years she's been smoking, and the last 5 years or so she'd given it up. She had been smoking for more than 3 of my friend's lifetimes combined. You could hear nothing but gasps and whispers, but nonetheless she continues on. Only to continue to say one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard in all my years of 7. She continued that during those 25 years of making her lungs into an ashtray, her friends and family would beg her to quit smoking, as they had never seen anyone smoke as much as she did, as often as she did. She went even further to say that the doctors had told her, "It's not normal how much you smoke, even for an addict. You will, without a doubt, die if you continue. But who cares what the doctor says about sustaining life?" It wasn't only until, I'm sure you've guessed it, I saw myself in the mirror one day and saw what smoking had done to my skin that I decided to stop. I wish someone had told me that it would make me age this quickly, leaving my skin all wrinkled and blotchy. It was honestly as if time started moving slower, like in those action movies during the fight sequences, because it seemed to be that no one thought anything, least of all her, about the absurdity of such a statement that revealed so much about the society both her and I are a part of, that has caused her to think so ridiculously. What was convincing to her, and I'm sure she's not alone in this mindset, was not that a doctor, whose sole purpose is to sustain life, is telling her there will be no more life. That her supply of life is about to run out. It's running dangerously low, her supply of life, and in order to stock up on life, she has to abolish smoking. No, forget about it, that's not persuasive enough. That's not persuasive enough. But what is persuasive is the sight of fading youth. Upon the sight of fading youth, fading beauty, the cigarette is put out forever. Breaking news, lo and behold, a mirror is more effective than years of medical practice and study. My. Fast forward a decade later and look smaxing has entered the English vocabulary. Clavicular, who incentivizes bone smashing. Harmful injections and bone smashing. No, this isn't new generation slang. This really is smashing your face with a hard object to make it more defined. I like to preface that I do not judge, because how can I judge when I myself walk as an imperfect girl? Luke 6:37-42. Besides, even God himself waits till the end of a man's life to judge him, so who am I to do so before that? But in pursuit of beauty stemming from a mindset, which unfortunately derives from an ugly truth about society, as I learned at 7, this poor man, and I don't say this sarcastically, I really do pity him, but not in a rude, condescending way. In a humane and honest way, I feel sympathetic, as due to Clavicular's drastic measures for attaining beauty. Seeping serenity from the future here. As a result of Clavicular's drastic measures for attaining beauty, he may have traded in his ability to father any children. Now back to Seeping serenity from the past. Goodbye now. And Lord knows all the other health issues and deficiencies he may have. The focus point is the way he lives and influences others to live, not the man himself. As we must love our neighbours as though we love ourselves. Think of those affected, or I should say infected, by such teachings and encouragement to diminish their health and dwindle their lifespan, all in the name of beauty, a false idea of beauty. What do you think their soul looks like, or their thoughts sound like? Forget love, that's an impossibility with this mindset. But can you even value anything besides beauty? Even partially value something, if not completely, with your priorities so distorted? And if you're a man following these teachings, how will you view women? I know, my dear watcher, you may be the exception here, but it's so appallingly uncommon how many men cannot fathom a woman being anything more than an object. And if these men begin to know, it is once they have a daughter. But don't be so foolish to think this is from love. On the contrary, it's from arrogance. My blood is in this child. Of course she must be somewhat more than an object. It doesn't take reading Tolstoy's Kreutzer Sonata to know. It's always in the music people make nowadays. A man will view a woman primarily and perhaps solely as an object used for sex. Her value does not lie in her mind or even in the depths of her eyes. No, a little further down, where her reproductive organs are. That is where the value is perceived to lie. The only value. How will a man's life look if he views women in this way? He's envious for knowing that if beauty be a currency, women have the advantage. This applies to women too, who have been marred by this corrupted mindset. From the envy comes resentment and contempt. Contempt for your sister in Christ. Contempt for a woman you do not even know, as this is a generalization you make about all women. The more you think, the more absurd it gets. Old Albert said it best. Einstein? A question that sometimes drives me hazy. Am I or the others crazy? But one thing that cannot be doubted or debated. It truly is a Dorian Gray world. There is no book more fitting, and yet no book more ironic. Because Dorian Gray, like old Dr. Faustus, dies in the end, ultimately living a worthless life, drowning in hedonism, worth condemning. Let me read you a little passage about what witty Lord Henry says about beauty. because you have the most marvellous youth, and youth is the one thing worth having. I don't feel that, Lord Henry. No, you don't feel it now. Someday, when you are old and wrinkled and ugly, when thought has seared your forehead with its lines, and passion branded your lips with its hideous fires, you will feel it. You'll feel it terribly. Now, wherever you go, you charm the world. Will it always be so? You have a wonderfully beautiful face, Mr. Grey. Don't frown, you have. And beauty is a form of genius, is higher indeed than genius, as it needs no explanation. It is of the great facts of the world, like sunlight or springtime, or the reflection in the dark waters of that silver shell we call the moon. It cannot be questioned. It has its divine right of sovereignty. It makes princes of those who have it. You smile. Ah, when you have lost it, you won't smile. People say sometimes that beauty is only superficial. That may be so, but at least it's not so superficial as thought is. To me, beauty is the wonder of wonders. It is only shallow people who do not judge by appearances. The true mystery of the world is the visible, not the invisible. Yes, Mr. Grey, the gods have been good to you, but what the gods give, they quickly take away. You have only a few years in which to live really, perfectly and fully. When your youth goes, your beauty will go with it, and then you will suddenly discover that there are no triumphs left for you. You'll have to content yourself with those mean triumphs that the memory of your past will make more bitter than defeats. Every month as it wanes brings you nearer to something dreadful. Time is jealous of you and wars against your lilies and your roses. You will become sallow and hollow-cheeked and dull-eyed. You will suffer horribly. Realize your youth while you have it. Don't squander the gold of your days listening to the tedious, trying to improve the hopeless failure, or giving your life to the ignorant, the common, and the vulgar. These are sickly aims, the false ideals of our age. Live the wonderful life that is in you. Let nothing be lost upon you. Be always in search for new sensations. Be afraid of nothing. A new hedonism, that is what our century wants. You might be its visible symbol. With your personality, there's nothing you could not do. The world belongs to you for a season. Seeing that it's ultimately Lord Henry's silver tongue that influences Dorian Gray, let's use this moment to discuss influence. It is from a similar dreadful influence that causes women, and sometimes even men perhaps, to die from excessive plastic surgery or botched plastic surgery. As of late, a woman of 34 became immediately ill as a result of failed cosmetic procedure and later died of respiratory failure. At 34, this woman was a Kim Kardashian lookalike model. As we speak of influence, I'll read you something from Dorian Gray. There is no such thing as a good influence, Mr. Gray. All influence is immoral. Immoral from a scientific point of view. Why? Because to influence a person is to give him one's own soul. He does not think his natural thoughts or burn with his natural passions. His virtues are not real to him. His sins, if there are such things as sins, are borrowed. He becomes an echo of someone else's music, an actor for a part that has not been written out for him. The aim of life is self-development, to realize one's nature perfectly. That is what each of us is here for. People are afraid of themselves nowadays. They have forgotten the highest of all duties, the duty that one owes to oneself. Of course, they are charitable, they feed the hungry and clothe the beggar, but their own souls starve and are naked. Courage has gone out of our race. Perhaps we never really had it. The terror of society, which is the basis of morals, the terror of God, which is the secret of religion, these are the two things that govern us. And yet, I believe that if one man were to live out his life fully and completely, were to give form to every feeling, expression to every thought, reality to every dream, I believe that the world would gain such a fresh impulse of joy that we would forget all the maladies of medievalism and return to the Hellenic ideal, to something finer, richer than the Hellenic ideal. It may be. But the bravest man amongst us is afraid of himself. I'll leave this here to further let this thought marinate in your mind. I want to end by telling you this: to avoid leading or following the blind, as there's no distinction in rank if no one knows where they're going, you must always be a selective listener. Make your decisions, live deliberately after you have understood everything. or at the very least understood enough, so that no matter what decision you make afterwards on how to live, you will know that that decision was consciously made and not due to ignorance, least of all and worst of all, willful ignorance. In that way, you hold yourself accountable no matter what may befall you as a result. So you will have gained something beautiful. How will I know if you want more videos like this if you don't like, comment, and subscribe?